and I even knew about that. If you've seen the evidence that I have gathered about this individual and about the warehouses that were completely filled with all of these body scanners and no airports were buying them. So then this underwear bomber thing came along, and every one of them got sold immediately. This is how they work. These elites that have hijacked the federal government are using it by use of the media, by lying to the people.
So Mark, you're saying that there's an infrastructure in place that's geared towards making money off these crises. So Mark is claiming that it's a generated crisis.
Lady, and the rest of you, you mouthpieces funded by government are liars. Anyone need to hear? Well, you know what? Let's hear him.
Talking to my colleague Tony Kimmery, who specializes in intelligence, to see if he is aware of, you know, the stories that somebody might have helped the underwear bomber onto this plane, because I certainly am unaware of them.
Bill, Republican in Fairfield, Connecticut, our last call. Go ahead.
Yes, hate to keep hammering you with this underwear thing, but yes, there's been a lot of news about this. In fact, it was televised on C-SPAN before Congress. Undersecretary of State for Management Patrick Kennedy said that the gentleman was allowed to get on the airplane because they were tracking him, which is troubling in either case, knowing that he had a bomb on him.
Okay.
And allowing
I can't take any more. This smug-looking dude. Let me have some of my cup of joe here while I totally dismiss whatever you're saying, because it didn't come to me from a file labeled from the Homeland Security, because that's what I am. I'm a mouthpiece. I only say what they tell me to say. And that was definitely Patrick Kennedy. I've never heard of him. I know he works for the government. Don't know who he is. I don't know who Kurt Haskell is. You know, he's only the most prolific person outspoken about the underwear bomber case. And if you type in underwear bomber, you're invariably going to see a picture of Kurt Haskell on the Alex Jones show, telling him that he saw a guy get him on the plane. I mean, it's great, though. I love to see the callers not taking this. They're not sitting down. They're not just letting the news be fed to them. They are culture jamming, and that's what we all need to do. You know, and as the dinosaur media dies, this will become less and less important. It'll become more important to form communities of people you know who you're going to trade with when the economic collapse happens. But right now, I love seeing this. You know, the underwear bomber, sorry, bud, you were a government patsy. Or as he said, I'm not the government patty, which I don't know where he gets that from. But anyway, we'll move on. Oh, but before we do, I am going to take the Kurt Haskell interview, chop it up into 4 parts, and you're going to see him the rest of the week. We're going to have, you know, at least 15 minutes of Kurt Haskell each show talking about how this was a government operation. And it was made, well, at least in his opinion, in my opinion too, because let me tell you, right after the underwear bomber happened, the next day and the day after, all it was we got to put in body scanners. We got to put in body scanners. How are we going to fight this? And they would turn to the expert, who was Michael Chertoff, who used to be the head of Homeland Security and now owns a body scanner firm. Or actually, he owns a firm that consults for body scanner companies. So he's out there trying to get body scanners sold. That's where his interests lie. His interests really don't lie in safety. So anyway, I sent Mickey McCarter an email myself with some links, one of which was to Police Save for the Rise of FEMA, and some other news articles detailing all the stuff these callers were telling him, just so he know they weren't making stuff up. This has been stuff in printed media. And he probably won't look at it. He probably won't respond to me. I invited him on the show. We'll see. We'll see if he accepts it. He probably won't, because that's not who's paying his bills. The people aren't. He's getting, I'm sure the government in some ways is funding Homeland Security today. Anyway, moving on to oil. That's right. It's the oil, stupid. Iran stops oil sales to British and French firms. This is out of Reuters. Iran has stopped selling crude to British and French companies, the oil ministry said on Sunday, in a retaliatory measure against fresh EU sanctions on the Islamic State's lifeblood, oil. The problem with Iran is they don't have enough refineries to make gas, so they have to ship a lot of crude out to get gasoline in, and those sanctions are being imposed on them by the EU, basically to kind of corner them into striking back. And so what they're doing is they're stopping sales of oil, which is, you know, that's what I would do if I was being cornered and I had a lot of oil. So Iran was supplying more than 700,000 barrels a day to the EU plus Turkey in 2011. And it's definitely going to drive up the price of oil, of course. The Independent reports oil prices at a 9-month high after Iran dispute. Iran's oil ministry said it stopped shipments to British and French companies in a preemptive blow against the European Union after the bloc imposed sanctions. They included a freeze on the country's central bank assets and oil embargo set to begin in July. Also, we have Saudi Arabia getting in on the game. Saudi Arabia cuts oil output, export industry report. The world's top oil exporter, Saudi Arabia, appears to have cut both its oil production and export in December, according to the latest update by the Joint Organizations Data Initiative, or JODI, an official source of oil production, consumption, and export data. So I don't know if they're siding with Iran in this or if they're just trying to hedge their bets. Or I think they want to drive up, my personal opinion is that they want to drive up the price of oil. That will drive up the price of gas. And maybe they'll make these stupid Americans see that war with Iran is not prudent. And Business Insider, you don't believe me? Believe them. Gas prices are getting close to the magical freakout point. And they point to $4 a gallon being that magical freakout point, which we had back in late 2008 as the Bush administration was leaving and oil companies were getting their last gasp out of us in that year. And we have a chart here from AAA. It shows what the current average gas price is. It's $3.56. And 1 year ago at this time, it was $3.16. So we are about, well, let's see, 55 cents from our highest recorded average price, which was in July of 2008, $4.11 a gallon. And that was just average. You can go to California right now and pay almost $5 a gallon of gas. They're always hit first. They seem to have, I guess they're the 8th largest economy, so they can pay for it. And then you have places like Texas and other refinery locations. Louisiana usually pay a little bit less than that, but it's coming, folks. Get ready for higher gas prices. And they're only going to go up higher as we continue this fight with Iran, but most of the people out there won't care. They'll be cheering and watching the remote control Sega Genesis bombs hitting their targets. Finally, before we leave, we have a little bit of science news. Transistor made using a single atom may help beat Moore's Law. Just to let you know, Moore's Law states that the number of transistors that can be placed on an integrated circuit doubles every 18 months to 2 years, and it's predicted to reach its limit with existing technology in 2020. Cutting the size of a transistor to a single atom may defeat that concept. And before I was doing the other media jobs I was doing back in the early 2000s, I worked in a semiconductor company. They were a manufacturer of these machines that they would sell to larger companies like AMD or Intel or Advanced Micro Devices, a lot of different companies. And I remember they went from the 200 millimeter size of wafer, which they would lay microchips on. It was kind of like photolithography. They would lay down different materials and take them off and lay down more, and that's how they created these circuits. Well, then they made the jump to 300 millimeter. So they increased their size by more than 30%. So you're able to get more chips on each wafer. It was pretty amazing going from 200 millimeter to 300 millimeter and upgrading these companies, you know, from the small pan pizza to the medium-sized pan pizza. And so each wafer would be, you know, worth about, you know, $20,000 to $30,000. And I remember they were talking about just one, this shelf. It was this legend, I guess, in AMD that one of these shelves was about to fall over with a bunch of wafers, and the guy saved it, and he got like a $10,000 bonus. That's how much money he saved. So there's some pictures of the wafers right there, and those are the 300 millimeter size that they went to. So if you look at the 200 millimeter, it was a lot smaller, and that was earlier in this decade. And then they cut them up, and those chips then go into your cameras, they go into your game consoles, they go into your phones, they go into basically everything that we use today. So making one the size of an atom is pretty extraordinary. The only catch is they have to keep the temperature at minus 391 degrees Fahrenheit to keep the atom from migrating out of its channel. So I don't see those being put into practice anytime soon, but it's sort of a proof of concept. Hey, we can build the smallest transistor in the world, and here it is, it's an atom. So coming up next, it's going to be little nano machines that aren't very big, you know, probably be put into a vaccination syringe and inject it into you. Make sure you're getting your meds. So that's the news. We're going to go to break. And, let's do the quote of the day first, right? And then we're going to go to break. And this is from William Ralph Ing. And he writes, "It is astonishing with how little wisdom mankind can be governed when that little wisdom is its own." That was William Ralph Ing. And big thanks to John Bound, who puts those quotes together. He's going to be doing a Man on the Street this week. We've got a great week of shows, even though Alex is going to be out. He's traveling to Florida now, and on Sunday he will be at the Jai Theater in Orlando. So if you haven't got your tickets, I think they still have some seats left. You can go to infowars.com/events and check that out. During the break, I've got a little video that I prepared for you guys. Last week, I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I had to meet with the City of Pittsburgh lawyers. I filed suit against them the day before the statute of limitations ran out, and I filed suit against them for basically false arrest and detainment for over 12 hours, part of which was spent out in the courtyard in pretty cold weather. I would say it was upper 40s, lower 50s, and it was drizzling. And all I had on was shorts and a T-shirt because I'd been running around the whole day shooting protest footage for the G20, or people protesting the G20. The police arrested me. I've got video footage all the way up to the arrest. I showed a little bit of that in there. And basically, I went back to the spot where I was arrested and have a little commentary, and this was after we went through the negotiation phase. So enjoy that, and when we come back, we're going to be sitting down with Aaron Dykes talking of a whole host of issues. It's InfoWars Nightly News, and I'm your host, Rob Dew.
Yeah, I'm signing these evil 1776 flags. Doesn't get any more out of control than that, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty un-American what we're doing here at InfoWars.com. I mean, not only are we promoting liberty, but we're selling 1776 flags. Now that is Al-Qaeda.
Hey, this is Rob Dew. I'm standing at the spot where I was arrested a little over 2 years ago during the G20, arrested for being a journalist.
Sir, for your safety, get down on the ground.
Can I get out of press?
Sir, for your safety, get down. You're with the press?
Yes, sir.
Who are you with?
We just got out of a mediation that was done, which I believe was done in bad faith by the defense. And I can't really talk about much that went on, except no settlement was reached. And it looks like we're going forward and going to keep on doing some investigating and digging and see if we can